Hello, and welcome to a new edition of Education is the Best Medicine. Thanks for tuning in. And, as I always say, public community access is your best bet. Um, as we move to transitions and as we try to be a better version of ourselves, just, keeping it real. So, few things are on my mind, and going to share them with you because I think they're kind of important. Um, been quite busy, and been a lot of, I'd have to say, transitions. And if we're not used to making transitions, we'll never get anywhere. So here we are. Uh, Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This is Education of Best Medicine, and this is Believe Radio, a 24-hour gospel and religious station. Uh, the opponents, I want to say hello to Curtis. Curtis, hey, keep it moving. I love you lots. My colleague, Barbara Howard, will be back next week to share all her huge nuggets of information and guests, and we're both going to be doing that concurrently. Depends on how things go. Um, Wanted to say that when people try to take your shine, we have to be kind of cognizant of that and be okay with that because you know everybody doesn't want you to shine. So speaking of shine, this is going to be kind of like a potpourri of things, and we're going to talk about medicine and everything. But I'm just feeling kind of excited because when it's happening for you, it's happening, and I really appreciate that. I want to read this letter, um, and I think it's important because when people are a part of your life and a part of the things that help you transition, then you have to acknowledge their transition. This is from Kaiser Hospital. It says member outreach. March 31st, to me, George Y. Pearson. It says, Dear George Pearson, because we know you have a relationship with your provider, it's important a part of your health care. We are writing to let you know that the upcoming change, effective March 29th, uh, Dr. Wilson Say, MD, will no longer be seeing patients at Kaiser Oakland Medical Center. The reason for this is he's because after 36 years, I practiced 44, so we know that's a long time. But he's been a top-notch physician in my private physician. That's why I'm writing you this letter. Dr. Say will be retired from practice, and your care will be transitioned to another provider. This is not uncommon. We are at a very, very market issue in terms of primary care providers and their willingness to want to practice and see. Let me be clear with you, and I love family practice, I love internal medicine, but it's a problem-oriented issue. In fact, one of the discussions now in terms of documentation is which says that whatever the problems are, you list them and then you start to try to address them. So um, we here believe that's important. And so one of the reasons I started education-based medicine is that I want to really proceed to, and I have to be clear with it, African American problems in the Black African diaspora and how those medical problems and mental health problems affect us every day. This is why I go back and talk about 1619. I don't go back because it is ongoing and clear and present danger, as they would call it. That being said, I want to wish Dr. Say a happy retirement. And if you know him and have been under his care, just shoot him a email and tell him that thank you very much because he has done some yeoman's work. He speaks about 3 or 4 languages, and you know he came and he helped my dad transition. He was under. That's how I met him. He's my dad's primary care provider, and believe it or not, up to the last 10 or 12 years, I hadn't had a primary care provider. And as we all understand, that's me being a primary care provider and having a primary care provider, because you can't take care of yourself. Don't be your own lawyer or don't be your own medical provider. That's what I say. So that being said, I want to wish Dr. Say again the best of times and the worst of times, and I wish him all the success in his new endeavors, whatever they plan to be. That's one. Want to kind of talk about in general some of the issues that we're having, and because we're a health show, I thought some of the stuff is kind of interesting. This is out of the Huffington Post. It says the America's most hated foods. America's most hated foods. And if you really like these kinds of articles, please support the Huffington Post. She's been a stalwart, about probably talking about things that have cost her money and time and energy, but she could still use to still bring light to a very dark world. So when I talk about that particular concept, it's bringing light to a very dark world. It says that, so they have a few foods that Americans didn't like, but I had to pick this one because my dad loved liver. And he could cook liver. He could make liver taste good. I couldn't believe it, But the black men of that era, and I'm glad to have been born under them, because they made a little out of nothing. They made do. They always showed up, and they were the epitome of the black men that I respect. I was in a group called the Fedori Group, and these were just some of the most outstanding stand-up black men that I've ever had the pleasure to meet and associate with and work with and all that stuff. So, well, kudos out to the Fedora Group. They know who they are. So, liver is America's most hated food. It's supposed to be really healthy, though, but liver is the most hated food. So, at the top of the list of most hated foods, which received the harshest reception nationwide, 40% of respondents say they hated it outright. Hate's a strong word. Maybe you dislike him, but hate it? Man, that's deep. Regionally, liver dominated the hate charts, I tell you. And across most of America, it ranked as the most disliked food in the West, where we're at 42%, and in the Midwest, 44%, and Northwest, 4%. So if you're watching Facebook, what's your most hated food? Just throw something in the chat and say, I don't like it because of this, or just put the food. I have a particular distaste for okra. It's it's good. It's healthy, right? When my mom put it in the food, I ate it, but it was just something I'd have to not hold my nose, just close my eyes and chew and eat it. It's always squishy in my mouth. I didn't like that, Well, some things I like squishy in my mouth, but I wouldn't like that. And so the West is up there. Midwest was 44%. The Northeast was 40%. They said that it's a bitter flavor and associated with old-fashioned meals may contribute to its enduring unpopularity. My dad could cook liver. So why is that important? Because, again, the men that in my era had to make little out of nothing. So they had to take all those cuts of meats and make better meat now. Now I just buy better meat now. But if you're a black man, black family at that time, you have 4 or 5 children. I can think of the Hesters. I can think of the Fishers. I can think of a number of large families that they do what they had and had to buy for more folks because, again, you were feeding a whole bunch of folks at that time. The back logo says education is the best medicine. Again, I want to thank Kaya Fortune for creating that logo. Again, this is a part of our trying to move it to the next level. Um, and again, it said liver's extremes extend beyond taste. Uh, Figures like the Liver King evaluated it to near mythical status, promoting it as a superfood. While it may be America's most hated food, there are nutritional benefits in liver, sometimes called nature's multivitamin. Think about that. Think about, again, I reflect back to my father, and these men that loved liver and cooked it. Only thing I don't think they did is barbecue, and it probably got barbecue. We just didn't get a chance to get it, but it was cooked and it was served. And The way my dad uh, made liver, it was like, you had to eat it. You know, you may not have liked it, but you had to eat it. So yeah, that's just that. In the South, the one of the other uh, most hated foods. Uh, my computer just went. In the South, the most hated food again was liver. Almost everywhere. Liver's just got a bad rap. I just don't understand it, but I get it. And so they also, while liver reigns supreme, most everywhere the South broke from the trend where 30% people said they hated anchovies. I can go with that, and sardines. Now, hey, let's talk about ghetto. Hmm. If you hadn't had sardines and crackers, then you weren't living in the ghetto with hot sauce. It's like Hispanic Americans and eggs. I was at my break room and my employment, and we were talking about foods and all the kinds of foods. And I tell you, at my workplace, I'm gonna gain about 10 or 12 pounds. It's like because they cook all the time, and these are some really bright, intelligent Hispanic and women of color and women of Muslim descent, and of Indian descent and ancestry. They're just a huge. I'm really blessed to work with this group. They're sentinel, and so other diverse foods were beyond the regional most hated foods. The other ranked foods highly were chitlins. What? Chitlins? Chitlins got a bad rap. Now, I don't know. Again, I'm dating myself. I remember when my mom went to the market down in Safeway. It was a Safeway. It was downtown Oakland, and it was a large market with all communities in Oakland went to shop. Still there, but not to the extent. It was like huge. And I remember going, there was a butcher shop there, and uh, my mom would buy the packages of meat that she could afford, and they would give her the chitlins for free. Now, my dad, again, liver chitlins. Man, I remember I came in the house one day, and the chitlins were like blowing up the house. And he would say, when I couldn't afford to buy what I wanted to buy, I was eating chitlins and liver. I said, okay. Pretty healthy, too. I can't beat that. Again, I want to thank my Facebook family. Please watch the show on Facebook. Please start putting it out. We're trying to do more different dialogues. And this is a African American centric show for folks post 1619 and the African diaspora, and some discussions and differences about education, about health, about all those kinds of things. And we'll talk about ghetto too. So, um, so chitlins, tofu. Tofu got a bad rap. Hey, they're doing so much stuff with tofu now. You think it was barbecue? But again, culture, the American palate. I still remember a chicken in every pot. One of the presidential sayings as he trying to get elected. I forget who did it. I have to look it up. It was a chicken in every pot. And said, so chitlins, tofu, oysters? Nah, that may not be one because I tell you, there's some oyster eating people of color, particularly African Americans. They love oysters. Well, oysters and crab are scavengers, though, truly. And what's going on in the microsystem? They're probably getting a lot of plastics and a lot of oil. So, man, let the buyer beware, you know. And understand a lot of the food now is going to be processed because we're losing its viability. So, boy, eat fresh, eat natural. You know, that's why these urban farms are growing. A lot of senior centers in Oakland have urban farms where the seniors are uh, harvesting and growing their own uh, farm products and and eating them. I mean, eating them fresh. Why you go to farmers market because the food is fresh, maybe 1 to 2 hours before it gets to where it's going, as opposed to being frozen, being trucked across the country, and you consume it out of a plastic container, right? Think about that. And so, and among the disliked foods, it was about texture and about preparation, food style, which contributed to why people don't like it. Yeah, it's okay. Um, I think that we have to be open to different things as our food choices shrink. And to be able to grow our own, the war gardens, the backyard gardens of African Americans, the South, and then moving here because not only could not afford it, sometimes they didn't have access to be able to go into those stores and buy them because there were issues with African Americans going to white stores. They didn't want them there. I remember an instance my family moved we traveled to Alabama to see my grandmother one of the last times I saw her, and my brother Sam one of the last times I saw him. Uh, my grandmother ended up passing from a stove injury. My mother flew down. I'll never forget. She flew down there to see her mom and bury her mom. And she came back and she was kind of different because she lost her mom. I knew that it really impacted her, and we couldn't go because we couldn't afford it. Only she and I think she went with my stepdad when we were had to watch ourselves a little bit. But that's cool. Again, changes and transitions. So just kind of end this food issue about the most disliked food: Brussels sprouts, beets. Beets are taking a bad hit, but lots of it. These are all the foods. Kale. I beets, kale, Brussels sprouts. Again, here's okra. So I told you it was there somewhere. And eggplant. Hey, okay, we'll go with that. Also score highly on the dislike list. Now the Brussels sprouts, the beet, the kale. Oh man, I blend that up and I'm doing that as a shake along with spinach and a light sweet juice. Safeway has a antioxidant juice that I use, to kind of just sweeten it up, and because I do it throughout the day. I have maybe a hard lunch, maybe I have a sandwich or something, but mostly I'm doing that throughout the day, out the week. Great for the digestion, great for the bowel movements. Just gotta gotta time yourself on it because it can be explosive. So, uh, and even condiments and staples like mayonnaise, pickles, and mustard have their share of haters. Can't high in salt, it's what you put on to make the food taste better because it may be a lower grade of food. That was the whole idea with condiments. Now, you know, most of the higher end restaurants give small portions. And it's all fresh to farm. Not a lot of seasoning, basic. Maybe butter, maybe salt, maybe pepper, but nothing major. If you're doing all that, you have to look at the quality of food. So I always ask people to look at the quality of food. Um, and that kind of ended the um, the discussion around food. What's your food? What foods don't you like? Andre, what foods don't you like? Text in and let us know. The next thing I think I want to say that um, I've been very blessed, and want to show a picture here of me graduating from UCSF. Uh, it's a really exciting. I'm still a handsome guy too, by the way. Ego's a beast, ain't it? But this is my colleagues, family, um, as I graduated from USF, in organization behavior. Um, I show that because uh, the black woman right there was getting her PhD, and that was her husband. I was in a practice. I was at the Washington Wellness Center at that time, and we all had graduated together, so I was really kind of excited about that. She, uh, Dr. Eleanor, um, she was a vocalist, and she had studied Black spirituals. That's what she wrote a PhD on. And the use of Black spiritual in our awakening and our uh, acceptance and our ability to see us through the tough times. And I'm not going to keep you over. It's 2:25, and we're already almost a half hour through. Want to thank you for watching. Hopefully, you'll take us on this journey now because we're going to be bringing in guests. We're going to bring in Zoom, as I understand, start to manage this platform and that kind of thing. So, there was a discussion. I like to knock down myths too, and how dangerous myths can be in terms of us, and even the use of a drug, Tylenol, right? Tylenol for babies, Tylenol for pregnant mothers, for pain. Unless you're trying to overdose off it, Tylenol is a pretty decent drug. No studies to the effects, but this is again another Huffington article. It says that health in I don't know why they call him health. Let's call him secretary. Secretary Robert F. Kennedy rejected the findings of recent Danish studies that found no link between autism and Tylenol used during pregnancy. He called the research garbage and fraudulent. Now, when you say that, you need to provide information that states that's the case, that proves from the basic science literature that we understand and the availability of it that that's a valid claim. He just called it garbage, and he said it should be retracted. He told lawmakers when asked about the findings Friday. So lawmakers had even a major discussion, which means you can put dangerous people in positions of power and then wonder why they act dangerous, why they are dangerous. This whole administration is a reflection of people that should not be doing the jobs that they're doing because they don't have the competency and skill, and they're reaching a level of the Peter's principle, reaching a level of their own incompetence. So the study is garbage, he said. It should be retracted, he told lawmakers. The study published a peer-reviewed article on the Journal of JAMA Pediatrics this week evaluate the potential association with medical records over 1 million women in Denmark. 1 million. 1 million women in Denmark were studied for the effects of Tylenol and causing autism in their children. It's very significant. You should at least get 1% of a group, and that's plus or minus. You should get 1% of a group that says that happened, that the moms took Tylenol and their kids ultimately developed autism. And JAMA is one of our major medical journals. It's peer review, which means that a number of pediatricians, a number of people in the field, a number that study these things for lunch, the pharmacologists, everyone looked at that and said the data was valid, the structure of the science study was valid, so therefore we have to draw all those conclusions. Now, Secretary King didn't do anything. He just called it libelous He wants to retract it and would not even answer the scientific discussions around it. He went hyperbole, and said that Kinney argued that the study gleaned information solely from prescriptions, which she said have limited scope on women who took acetaminophen, the pain relief that's often branded as Tylenol. Now, here's a discussion you have to have. This was just in pregnant women. If this was not a good drug over the course of American use, wouldn't we hear about that right now? Would you think Tylenol would be advertising a drug that caused birth defects? And then the larger question is, what about the people that take it that aren't pregnant? Wouldn't it cause some issues in them too? Wouldn't we be hearing about that? Have you heard about it? Are you still taking Tylenol for pain? I am when I have it. So we have to be backing back off the hyperbole and the lies of someone who has a personal agenda as opposed to a factual based agenda. And even if you have a personal agenda, bring the facts. And let me decide for myself as a consumer, someone that takes that, someone that counsels pregnant women, that's worried about first trimester birth defects and throughout the pregnancy, worried about viability of pregnancy. I wouldn't want to give anyone anything that would cause problems with the mother or the child. So he said it was garbage in study, garbage out study. The industry has the capacity to generate these studies all the time. It's fraudulent, he said. So the study publication addressed Kinney's concern with potential bias, stating that the true exposure level among those with low exposure was likely underestimated. But it also noted that past studies of over-the-counter drugs have shown biases to be largely negligible. Which, in other words, I can walk across the street 100 times, and I have the potential to get hit. But how many times, if I'm walking down in a crosswalk with lights, would I get hit? Can't say never. There's going to be 1% of somebody get hit. But it ain't 30, 40, 50%, which is the same analogy I draw to the use of Tylenol. The study publication addressed his biases, but he didn't provide information to counteract that bias. He just said it was garbage and, flustered. And, how dare they ask him about studies, information? He's the health secretary elected by Congress. What shows you that we have people asleep at the wheel. There's no way he should have got through any kind of board review. Well, I'll talk to you about board reviews. Another study, Sweden in 2024, also found no causal link to autism and Tylenol. I read this stuff peer reviewed. If there was a problem with Tylenol and anything, we would have heard about it. And there is, but not to what he's talking about. You can overdose on anything. You can overdose on tapioca pudding. I guarantee you. You eat enough of it, it makes you sick. But the discussion around Tylenol in pregnancy and children, unworked. And then autism is kind of a genetic predisposition. It's environmental. We don't know all the factors come to have a child come out to be autistic. I just think it's one is being studied more, it's being identified early, and the children are being locked into a box. They're trying to engage those children into the society. We always want somebody to blame. We always want to accuse somebody of being ghetto. But that's a personal opinion and not steeped in anybody's fact, but someone's own personal opinion and bias. So that's where cognitive bias comes in. We're all biased. Anyway. And so Dr. Jeffrey S. Morris, professor of public health and preventive medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, also serves as the director of the school's division of biostatistics, called out that failed acknowledged by Kinney while calling his criticism of Danish study short-sighted and dishonest. Short-sighted and dishonest. That's what we got. The head of our health is short-sighted and dishonest. He said he overlooks the fact that the paper acknowledged earlier Danish research directly examined the potential bias from low-dose non-prescription use. He said in an online response to Kennedy's criticism. More clearly, Morrison said that the study published in past week found that the children of high-dose prescription users, who should be the greatest risk under his framework, had no elevated risk. So even when you gave a mom elevated Tylenol more than the prescribed dosage, they still didn't show any kind of really major risk for autism. That's putting the baby to bed. That's the way research should be conducted. That's what he should be drawing his inferences from in regards to Tylenol causing autism, not just saying that damn the researcher, it isn't valid and it's garbage in, garbage out. I guess who is garbage in, garbage out? Kenny, a year ago this month, said he would identify the cause of autism by September. Well, we're in April. April 22nd. Thank you, Kenyatta, for being born. Still a great. Thank you for carrying the child to term and let me get my game together so we could raise this child. Thanks for your helping me raise him. Appreciate you. And you have a new grandson too. So how about that? Speaking of grandchildren, I want to say hello to my girls, Kayla, Kaylee. Gotta make up some things too. I'm gonna own them right now. Missed my niece's wedding, and I'll tell you why that happened. I'm gonna present that why I had to miss it. But as I said to her mother, I will be making that up to her and to her new husband. I wish them the best, the world. She's a nurse practitioner now, and I think Sacramento, and doing really good work in nephrology. And it's just exciting time for her. Exciting time for her mother and her father. Good people. Trice, love you too. Hey, got y'all got it going on. Still on my brother too, so it's a family show. So hey, I love them. Put them out there. Love them all. So, said more critically, Moore said the study published last week found that children of high-dose prescription users should be at greatest week in his framework had no elevated risk of autism. He didn't say that. He just said it was garbage, right? Kenny, a year ago this month, said he would identify the cause of autism episode by September. Well, we're in April now, right? Happy birthday, Kenyatta, again. After failing to make the deadline, he said in October his office was working to prove that taking Tylenol while pregnant can cause autism in children, despite admitting that no such conclusive evidence has been found. He has continued to urge caution when taking it during pregnancy. Well, I ain't got a problem with him urging to take it easy during your pregnancy, but in reality, it's an issue. Again, my Facebook family, I may be having to be cut off. My phone is kind of dying. I forgot to charge it. Let me see if I can do something about that. Because I think this is all important. We all should be okay with it. Just a second. So thank you. Instead of losing you, I'm able to, in my studio, plug up and not lose any time. Let me plug it back up here. So, all right, there you have it. That's simple. I couldn't have done it in the other station, so we're all good. Uh, Prior planning prevents a very piss poor performance. I want to thank my colleague. I want to thank McKay Carter. I want to thank Jesse Collins and Andre Fisher and uh, all the folks who make it possible. Thank you. Uh, so, uh, if you notice it, new camera, trying to smooth some of the edges out here. And we're a work in progress. I say always a work in progress. Nothing's perfect. These African artifacts in the back of me are about 50 years old in my collection and my journey. What I see a lot in African art is the connection between women and men. And in the art, no one gender dominates. It's a collective, it's a symbiotic relationship. Only men and women can have that relationship. So there are other relationships, but the one that can produce children is unique. So President the current elected commander in chief said that he also told pregnant women to tough it out and not take it if they have a fever, a direction that medical workers call reckless and irresponsible. So I've got a pregnant mom with a fever, and I don't want her to get overheated. So a non-medical professional with no background in medicine, only what he thinks and what he tells and what the spin machine is telling him to tell women that are pregnant not to take Tylenol for a fever. Then what are they going to take? They're going to do a sponge bath, or they're going to what they going to do? See, you can't offer a non-solution to a non-problem. Anyway, that's a discussion. So I want to say hello to my good friend Richie Rich. We were at a donut shop a couple of years back. Now, I don't know about ghetto, but I am with men and men of color that try to stand. So if that's the appearance of a real serious black man that does not take garbage, that is respectful to the community and wants to support the community, then I'm definitely ghetto. Thanks, Rich. So it's always interesting. Again, back to this whole thing with acetaminophen. And this has come to me open evidence. And I'm spending a lot of time on this because this is how I think. You have to avoid the spin. You have to avoid the garbage. You have to avoid the lying. You have to avoid the disrespect. And you challenge it with information, education, and a clear mind. Your spiritual mind. So this is the open evidence, and I'll just read this real quick. It says current evidence does not support a causal link between acetaminophen and Tylenol used during pregnancy and autism spectrum disorder in kids. It says does not support a causal link. Not even a casual link. While some observational studies have reported small associations, the most rigorous analysis using sibling-controlled designs show no increased risk of autism when accounting for familiar confounding factors. Sibling control and analysis was done. The most methodological, robust approach to this. So they took the medicine and they gave it to children, siblings. So if there was going to be autism, you would have seen it in one of the siblings, right? Well, they didn't. They did not. This is Education, the Best Medicine. Thanks for watching. This is Believe Radio station by which we broadcast through. Again, this is under the umbrella of Barbara Howard, and her organization, and we really appreciate that support and that coverage. So they done, it says quality of existing systematic reviews is poor, and so found that confidence in existing was so critically low based on the study. So even the studies that wanted to have association were weakly based and poorly constructed. So they don't have any validity from a science standpoint. Otherwise, this article would not have been in JAMA. So, and professional society consensus supports the CFM as a safety in pregnancy. The American College of Medical Toxicology, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the Society of Maternal Fetal Medicine, and the American Academy of Pediatrics all affirm that CFM remains the preferred analgesic during pregnancy. These organizations emphasize untreated maternal fever, the very thing he's concerned about. That's interesting. So I want to put a kudo out to I want to show everybody if you can see it. See it there. I'm gonna read it. This is from the Bay Area Community Health Organization that I went and work for. It says April 6, 2026. Bay Area Community Health, and the address. Dear George Pearson, at its February 23rd, 2026 meeting, the Bay Area Community Health Credentialing Committee approved your credentialing and privileging packet. The committee approved your packet after verification. Congratulations on your credentialing and your privileging and your privileging approval. Hope your relationship with the BAC is found to be mutually rewarding. And I wrote back, so I'll be there for a long time. We appreciate your contribution in providing quality health care to our community. The recredentialing process is complete every 2 years. Your recredentialing data is scheduled for January 2028. Please keep a copy of this letter as verification for your records. And so I'm putting it out in the community that's what's going on. And if you have any questions or concerns about credentialing or privileging, please feel free to contact the compliance department sincerely. And I'll leave her name off because it's not important. But she is the chief executive officer of BAC, Bay Area Community Health Center, my new employment. So I always say that when people say things, they should know what they're talking about. So now, where did it all start? Where did it all start? This started, I was in the military. I went to Academy of Health Sciences, used Army diploma, and this was in 1978. I graduated. It started my career. I was a corpsman, and it was given at Fort Sam Houston on day 18th, August 1978. And this was a culmination of my first step in lifelong learning. So I just didn't walk into this. I arrived into it, and I worked into it. So, and this is my degree from Stanford. Jenny Fox. It is so old, the person at the end, the writing is weird off of it. But this was, says that Stanford University Medical Center, this is certified at George Young, that was George Young at the time. That's George Young Pearson, has satisfied and complete all requirements for the certification of clinical proficiency as assistant to the primary care physician with all rights, benefits, and privileges pertaining thereof. This was done on September the 10th, 1982. That's when I graduated. It is now 2026. I've recertified my board specially on average every 6 years over a 44-year period. The last one, most recent, was 2025. I just didn't get here. So, what's ghetto? Depends on how you look at it. If ghetto is me, I'm a great representation. If ghetto is just something you use and you don't have the psychological, mental, or spiritual chops to stand up and say who and what you are and what you do, stay out. You're playing in the wrong field. That being said, be very respectful and understand that some people are really ignorant and you have to be okay with that. Not to mention lifestyle. So behavior, lifestyle can create a whole bunch of ignorance. As smart as you think you might be. And again, in order to practice, I had to take a national certification board that I had to have taken every 6 years. Since practicing now, it's every 10 years. So I just recertified in 2025. I'm good for another 10 years. So I have to sit for a board exam. Was every 6 years, now it's every 10 years. Do 100 hours, it was 50 of a continuing type A continuing measure education credits to do what I do. Now, that may be ghetto to some people, but I'm okay with that one. Thank you for following me on this journey. I just felt I had to do that because some people think that some people really don't know you, first of all. And you have to be okay with them not knowing you because ignorance says that you don't want to know anyway, because it might be above your pay grade, and it is. Remember, I'm an African American man that went through this and continue to go through it. But I'm good enough to sit on this and be credentialed in a major medical center and to practice there. So much for getting. Anyway, I want to say thank everybody. We're at 2:53, and it's just been wonderful. I'm real happy. I'm glad my son is recovering. He had a little bout, and he's taking care of himself. I want to thank his primary friend, partner, baby mama. Hey. My little grandson, he's a trip. I like him. Me holding him is a little trip. I'm gonna put some pictures of him. Holding him in the hospital. Ain't nothing but bringing a black life into the world. I want to thank them both. Hey, want to say to all those that strive and have energy and wish them the best. Hey, you gotta keep getting up. All these things are a culmination of me having to keep getting up and to work and deal in adversity when your heart and mind is saying sometimes, do you really want to do this? You want to keep going? And my thing is you just got to keep getting up, keep getting there, keep making it happen, keep being spiritual, keep eating plant-based, educate yourself, be a lifelong learner. That's what you can do. I want to thank you folks for watching and listening and checking in and not checking out. Um, we are going through some, as Martin Luther King would say, some difficult times ahead. But it really doesn't matter because we're free. We're free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Martin Luther King spoke that night to garbage workers, or bus workers, I forget. That next day he would be murdered. So you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time for trash. You don't have a lot of time for sidebars and side eyes and so hey, be a man, be a woman, stand up, or whatever you like to be that. But don't judge a person. You judge a person not by the color of his skin, but the content of his or her or their character. And whatever it is, whatever that plays out, that's what it is. I want to thank you all for being a part of this experience. I have to do this, So the last part of my education as a PA is to teach. If you've done all the things you've done and need to do what you need to do, then you should be about teaching. Whether that's in the clergy, whether you're doing, whether you're a beautician, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a grandparent, whether you are whatever. The highest level is to provide teaching and mentoring to people that are moving ahead to help them so they can avoid the rocks and valleys that you had to experience. That's what it's about. It's not about being selfish. And because if I were selfish, we probably wouldn't be on. But I have to keep doing it, keep getting up, and if you think I'm ghetto now, keep on waiting. It gets better. It gets better and better and better and better. I want to thank you guys for watching Education is the Best Medicine. We'll be back next month. Ms. Howard's going to take the reins of the ship and keep it steady into May. Again, comments, Facebook, show, things you'd like to hear about. I got my own vibe, and I keep trying to make sure that we understand that heart disease and cancer are number one killers in our community. We don't address those issues by food choices, diet change, exercise, stress reduction. It's going to kill us every day. That being said, I want to thank everyone for watching. Really appreciate you. You kept it real for me. You've kept me honest. You've kept me on point. You supported me because the message is going to continue. Everyone's just catching up with the message now. We're talking about racism, sexism, and classism in 2016, 19. Oh, what are you talking about? He's just talking about really all that stuff's over. You think it's over? Go look at the news. You think it's over? Go after people being pulled off the streets. You think it's over? He's got 3 more years. 3 more years to raise hell. And he gonna do it too. So we have to be on our game, on our point, supporting Ukraine, supporting immigrants, supporting no war, supporting not having our young men sent to fight for oil. I'm saying it. We have been the victims of so much trauma. It's amazing why we don't go completely insane. That's what Richard Pryor said. He was absolutely on point. Look forward to coming shows, of course, some great guests. I'm going to end it with a piece piece by Marvin X. And he's going to be on the show. He wrote this in 1995. He said, "Let the men march, 1 million strong. March their fears out of the sands of time. March 400 years of American slime and mud off their feet. March change off their brains. March insane to sane. March for ancestors of middle passes and triangular trade. March for Nat Turner, Vesey, Prosser, Tubman. For the living and yet unborn. For the wives and children forgotten, comma, abused, comma, abandoned, comma. For the joy of a reconciliation and reunion, for the brotherhood of solely lacking and urgently requested, for the brotherhood of solely, for the march for a new community of respected, comma, of peace, comma, of unconditional love, comma, translating hate and violence, comma, violence in the streets of violence in the home, comma, march against drive-by killings and turf wars. You want turf, my brother? March for land and reparations. Let them march, let them parade for spiritual power and material satisfaction, for somber thoughts and somber action. March to the end, mind altered states. March to the White House gates. Announce the new man has arrived. The slave died an unnatural death. The clown is dead. Time is dead. We have decoupled the beggars tying their hands. Those who oppose us, let them back in the alley and shut up your chatter. Let them march home refreshed by the waterfall of unity, the sun of brotherhood, and by the river of responsibility. Marvin X, 8/2/1995. If that's ghetto, consider me ghetto. You folks take care. Love you all. Be peaceful and be blessed. We out of here.